we are live. How is it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of Tire Talk with Atturo Tires with our special guest this week, joining us all the way from Hawaii because he knows how to do quarantine right, apparently, unlike some of us here in Chicago. We have the founder, inventor, extraordinaire, Tom Burden from Grypmat. Tom, how are you doing?
Doing awesome. Glad to be on the show, man.
Yeah, I like I said, we're doing it completely wrong, quarantining here in Chicago. I don't know. You were showing us your house you got there, rented in Hawaii. It's just we're just not doing it right at all. I just think we got to do.
Yeah,
something
we're going to be posting. We'll be posting an MTV Crib style of the house. It's a pretty dope house. We got word that Ohio was shutting down, and I texted the team. I was like, "Hey, who wants to go to Hawaii?" And our videographer was like, "Let's do it." And we got a one-way ticket for $188.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know Tom or don't know Grypmat, what Grypmat is, Tom, do you want to just give us the sales pitch here? Do you want to give us the Grypmat rundown?
Yeah. So the Grypmat, it's a flexible tool tray, and it's really grippy. So it gives you a safe place to set your tools. So as you can see, like right over my shoulder, we got this Jeep here. Demonstration. We got a Grypmat up here, and then one right here. It's like backwards. So yeah, right here. So basically, when you're working on your Jeep or your truck or your car or whatever, it's easy to like have your tools and hardware scattered all over the engine. This acts as like a visual management. You can easily see it, and keeps your tools organized. So I was a F-16 mechanic in the Air Force. I was tired of my tools sliding off the aircraft, and came up with the Grypmat.
Yeah, so I'd imagine you were probably complaining about it, and everyone's like, "Well, that's just the way we do things. You just got to deal with tools sliding around. That's just the environment you're like, no, we could fix this. There's got to be a better way."
Yeah, it was kind of like working with the military. That's definitely an issue of like trying to teach old dogs new tricks, and then just being persistent. A lot of those old dogs, I feel like I just broke them from being super persistent. They're just, they're like, yeah, this won't work, or we have this issue with this rule. And then I was just like, well, here's an exception. And I would just keep being really persistent. But I used to get a lot of shit. And then once it started working, they started backing down on like the shit talking about it. So it's kind of funny.
So is there a moment in your mind, like a specific like moment of you working on an F-16 or working on a project that you kind of pictured Grypmat in your head for the first time? Was there like kind of an epiphany moment that you can look back to and was like, yeah, that's when I knew I needed to come up with this, and you kind of started to see it in your head and the gears started to turn?
Yeah. So I was sitting in my mom's car. She had one of those non-slip mats on her dashboard to keep her cell phone from driving. And when I saw that material, I was like, I know this is the solution. I don't know how to really implement it. So at the time, originally, it was to on the jet, it's like really smooth on the surface. And there's not like a hood that you can pop to work underneath it. So it's just covered in panels, and like each part that you want to work on, you have to like screw off a panel, take it off, then work on the inside. So the idea was that on a panel, when you would take it off, it would be able to like clip into the panel, then hang down and be grippy to hold your tools. So that was the original idea, and then it grew into. So the concept was that it would clip on, and at the bottom part, it would have like a lip like this, just on the bottom of the Grypmat, not on the top. And then I was sitting on top of the jet with the electrical shop, and I was like, when you're working on this part of the jet, where would you want your tools? Like trying to figure out where we could clip it on. He's like, well, if you could just make it grippy and have a lip all the way around the edge, then I could just set my tools in there, and that would be ideal. So ran home and made a prototype, and I would make molds out of blocks of wood, and I was in my dad's barn. He's got like a lot of this general construction for a side hustle. So I would cut up all these blocks of wood, glue them together, and then use it as a mold. And I was home for Thanksgiving break, and my mom, she was like wanting me to come inside, and then I was like, we're trying to work on the mold, and my mom, she comes out and she's like, your grandparents are here. You need to get inside now. It's like, Mom, this is the only thing that matters right now.
Yeah.
And then she just gave me this look, and like within 20 minutes, I was like in the house. You know?
Mom, that was like years of R&D lost going in there.
Right. And up to Mom, like, no, okay. It worked for like 20 minutes, and then like, all right.
So were you, when you were making the molds, were you in the kitchen then, when like the pots, like pouring like silicone and stuff inside your kitchen, stirring it together and then pouring it in the molds, or what?
I was doing that in the basement, and so I lived in Toledo, Ohio, and I would do that in the basement, and it was a 6-bedroom house, and all my roommates would complain about like, because I would clean them with like xylene and like crazy chemicals that would just like go throughout the house. Now the thing is, I don't know if I like messed up my sinuses from that, but that stuff doesn't bother me. So someone on like, I'd be in the basement, it's a 2-story house, so like
Oh, did we lose
2
him?
stories higher is, you know, running down like, what the hell's going on? And I was just like, you know, I'm like, well, I'm just like cleaning the grip mats. I pulled them out of the mold, and yeah, it was. And then I would like to clean them. So the problem was I would take this mold release and spray it on the mold.
Yeah.
So pour the material in there. So you take a 2-part epoxy, mix it together, and then dump that into the mold. Now to pull it out of the mold, you need that mold release.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, when you pull out the grip mat, it's this like greasy, like slippery product, which that's not what a grip mat is, you know? So I had to like wipe it down, and I was still trying to like figure out the process of like cleaning them. So I would like put them in the shower and like in the bathtub and try to like soak them. So then like a roommate would try to like go take a shower, and there'd be like grip mats all over
like spaghetti
of the bathtub, and they were just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah. It was funny. This one time, a roommate, his girlfriend was over, and I just had this like material shipped in that was like, it was in like flat rolls, and it was really grippy. And I took my phone, and I could throw it on this material, and it would grip.
Yeah.
So his girlfriend was over, and I was like, check this out. And she's like, whoa. And I go, throw me your phone. And she's like across the room, like 15 feet. And she just goes, and like, at me, like over. And I was like, fuck. Like, I like tried to like catch, like dampen the blow, because I'm like, yo, you're going to smack. But yeah, that was
softball.
like, yeah, way too much trust in me.
Your roommate's probably were at first like, man, he's probably cooking drugs or something in the basement. He's got like the xylene out, and he's like over his cauldron, like cooking things in the basement. Comes out, his eyes are red from the chemicals.
No goggles.
Yeah, they're all excited, and it turns out it's just like, no, it's just rubbers.
Yeah.
No.
Big thing.
So what's your best like most memorable, maybe it's funny, whatever, moment of just working on F-16s and being in the Air Force? Because I guess that's a lot. It's similar but different to working on a car. So what's like a memorable moment from that for you?
Working, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. Most memorable moment of working on a fighter jet. I mean, I get asked so much about like that moment on the jet that I figured it out.
Yeah.
I mean, like one time I had this small piece of material like that was on my mom's dashboard, and I was at the base, and I had it in my pocket, and I was like super afraid the grip mat, like someone would like steal the idea. So I like I have like a tool in my hand, like a wrench, and I pull out the Grypmat, I like sit inside the jet, and then I like put the tool on there and it like did it slide and I like ripped it off real quick. Or I would say like another good memory was so I went to the base. So I was National Guard, so I would just be there 1 week in a month, but I had an ID that I could just go on whenever. And it was like 20 minutes from my house. And I go there, I'm wearing like just civilian clothes, not my uniform. And I go there on a Tuesday, and I knew this, but I just never really paid much attention to it. But it was like casual Tuesday where you could just wear normal clothes. I just like didn't think about it. So I'm wearing normal clothes. Everyone else is wearing normal clothes. And I walk in there and I was like, hey, I have this project that I want to work on. Is there any way I can get measurements off the jet? And they got all this permission. I'm like, I got flight line access and everything. Just want to get permission before, we're good. So then they're like, yeah, I got all the approval. I come back the next day, everyone else is in their uniform and I'm not in my uniform because I'm like just there on my own.
Because you're not working. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just start like pulling out, tape measures and shit and like start measuring everything and like taking like drawings and like typing shit on a laptop. And like 5 guys are like, what the fuck are you doing? And they just like swarm me like hard. And I was like, yo, I talked to this captain and colonel, they were cool with it. And I got approval and I gave my ID. They're like, they took everything, like ID, my note. They're like, wait here. And then, and then they came back and they're like, yeah, here's your shit. You're good. And then I was like, all right, cool. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, they're like, who let this guy near a fighter jet?
Yeah. There was one time I had like, so the idea was to have like a bunch of different like products, like a Grypmat for your tools. Like I had this like long, like the material that I like threw my cell phone on. The idea was to have it like really long, and then that you could lay it on the jet to like walk on. And so I laid that out. So the thing is, I want to get pictures of this on the jet. And it was really like, I was like, yo, can I just like pull out my phone and start taking pictures? Should I bring a photographer or what? So I get permission to get the photography. I think it was like such an odd question. They didn't know how to handle it. So then I get like a photographer on base. So they're like social media person. And then she's like taking pictures. And then there was like these like maintenance chiefs that were like, this is like the highest enlisted people you can get. They were like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do this. So I just like kept asking them questions, or I just like brought all the camera crew there to the point like, I don't think they knew how to say no. Or if they said no, I just kept like plowing through it. And they're like, what if someone falls? What if they have all these questions? And I'm like, it'll be fine. I'll be the model. Or like, I think I like pulled some guy from like doing maintenance. I think that I was just like, hey, come here. We just like need pictures. Just like stand right here on the jet. And he's like, I don't feel safe standing here. I'm like, that's the purpose of this product. The part where you'll slide off. So you stand on this. And then the chief's like, what are you doing? Like, what if if he falls using your product? Like we don't ever stand on that part of the jet. Get the pictures. It'll be fine. Everyone's like, what are you doing? And I'm getting the pictures, and then we use that on like some like posters and stuff. But long story, like a prototype that didn't really work.
Which led to
when you finally left, they were like, man, thank God that guy and his grippy pads are gone. Like we don't have to deal with him anymore.
Yeah. I would say the most wildest story was Startup Weekend. Have you heard of Startup Weekend?
Yeah, the startups.
Okay, Startup Weekend, you like pitch an idea over a weekend. Yeah. You pitch an idea, and then like top 10 people, like 100 people pitch, top 10, they'll like vote on the top 10. And then if you didn't get your idea picked, you like partner with someone who did. And then the entire weekend, you just push the idea forward, try to start a business in like 48 hours.
Yeah.
So when startup weekend, I'm in Toledo, Ohio, and they're like, they have like this grant program at the university. They're like, hey, we want to get you some like grant money for like, you know, this idea, you know, we prove that it's a good idea through startup weekend. And they're like, we want you to like get some feedback at your base of like how they would use a product, if they would use a product, what they think of it. So this is like Friday. I'm like, this weekend I'm going to be at the base. Perfect. So Saturday I go to the base. I'm like, hey, I got these drawings. What do you think? Oh yeah, that's definitely a problem. You know, we're always setting guns inside we're setting tools inside the jet. There's like this specifically a barrel trough that to work on the gun that they'll take off, and that's like a hot spot that they set tools. So yeah, this is great. We love it. So that night, so when I talk to the grant people, they're like, make a list of things that you want us to help you pay for. So basically make a list, they'll pay for it. And then I can, like, for example, trade shows. Trade shows are very expensive. They wanted to like help me out with some trade shows. So I'm like, well, I don't know what trade show to go for or like where to start. So Saturday night, I'm like, all right, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, for that 1 hour, I'm going to do everything I can to find the right trade show. So no texting, no social media. I'm just searching as much as I can, making phone calls, sending emails. I'm usually getting like a voicemail, which is fine. You know, I was thinking maybe they'd be back to me on Monday. So right away, I get a call back from this lady. Her name's Susie. So Susie calls me back and she goes, yeah, I used to, for small business, get the military contracts. And I was like, damn, this is like the perfect person. Mm-hmm. Like I'm retired now, but I can refer you to my friend Hazel. So I was like, all right, perfect. So she goes, actually, if you go on this website, she gives me the website. She's like, there'll be a map of the United States and you can hover over each state and there'll be the leading general of each state. She goes, I know most of them. Just send them a direct email. And I'm like, you're asking me to email like 2-star general. Yeah. She's like, start with like Vermont and like another state. I can't remember what 2 states she wanted. She's like, they're pretty big at with F-16s. Just start there. And she goes, throw my name in the email and it'll be good. And I'm thinking, fuck, dude, I just got staff sergeant. Let's do this. So I'm like, send out emails. I'm like, F it, dude. Let's just start sending it out to every state. And I was like, she specifically said, don't send it to your own state.
Yeah, you did.
So I was like, I'm all hyped up and I sent it to my own state. Yep. I was like, let's, I took Susie's name out of it because she said not to do, it. And then like, I finally get done at like 11 o'clock at night. And I go into the base and I'm in the gun shop, which is a normal thing. And I see a senior master sergeant come into my shop, which he's a part of weapons, but it's odd for him to be in our shop like this early. Like usually he's got morning meetings and stuff. So he's like looking around and he's like, Burden, where's Burden? I'm like, I'm over here. What's up?
Bueller.
Yeah. And he's got this paper in his hand. And I got the paper, and on the paper's the email that I sent the night before, like 7 hours prior. And I was like, oh fuck. And he looks up at me like dead serious. He's like, did you email a general last night?
In my sleep?
And I'm like, I'm thinking I emailed like at least half a dozen to 2 dozen, like
being more specific.
You should have looked him in the eye. You should have said, no, I emailed 2 dozen generals last night.
But at that time I was like, I'll confess to 1 right now.
That's all you know.
I'll confess to 1. So at this point, he's like flipping over that page, and there's a bunch of other pages behind it, and it's showing like it got sent from like the leading general of Ohio to the assistant general to like our commander to like the commander of maintenance to the commander of weapons to the chief of weapons to like now to him. This happened like within 7 hours, and I was like, oh fuck. And at this point I'm getting like escorted to this colonel to a colonel's office on base, and because he's like, yeah, he's like, I'll say Colonel O. He's like, Colonel O wants to see you, and I'm like, I've heard of his name, I don't even know who this guy is. So I'm getting like escorted to Colonel O, and I never met this guy. I've heard of him. I don't know what he looks like. But the second so there's like a hallway. You walk into these set of offices, like a little foyer, and then you walk into each person's office. So I'm still in the hallway, but I made eye contact through him through like 2 door jams, through the foyer and then through his, and I instantly knew that was him. The second we made eye contact, I didn't see a name tag. I didn't see like a sign that said, Colonel O's office or anything like that. And I just know I'm supposed to walk up to his office. So I walk up to his office, and at this point he's like out of his chair, and he's just like, he gives me this like little shoulder bump. He's like, we're meeting in the conference room. And he's like, I don't think I've ever like told this story online. Anyway, we got this like long conference room table, and he's on the other side of it, and he has this paper, and he like slides it across to me, and he's got like death eyes at this moment, but he's like, his voice is kind of calm. He goes, did you send this email? And I'm like, yes, sir. And I was like, can I explain? And before I even hit the letter N on explain, he just like fucking like yelling at me. And I got this, so I got my escort, and then there's like a guy in there sitting next to him that's like writing everything down being said. And he's just like going off on me. Just like, do you know your chain of command? Do you know like what a leading general of Ohio? And then he just like kept going on and on. It was like to the point where like the table is like and I'm just like, I'm just a National Guard member. I'm like 2 clicks higher than out. Like I didn't know. I wasn't ready. He just kept. There was this like period where he was like, I was like, sir, I'm not trying to like step on anyone's toes. I was just trying to like, make the right contacts and get the right introductions. And then he just blew up more. He goes, I can get you Lockheed Martin contacts. I can get you, military contacts. And then he just kept going this rant. And then I said to him, I was like, he like was tired from like yelling at me. And he goes, and I go, well, sir, if I didn't do what I did, we probably wouldn't have this conversation right now. And when I said that, the dude that's writing everything down being said, he just stopped and looked at me. And my escort looked at me like, are you fucking dumb? And and I think at that moment I broke the colonel, because he just was like, what? Yeah. And he goes, so I don't even know what your product is. And at this time, I've got like a folder of my drawings. I like whip out the folder, and I got this giant like table, this conference room table, just covered in like different CAD drawings. And he's like, are you in college? And I go, yeah, for mechanical engineering. He's like, so you know how to make this? I was like, yeah, prototype it, we can make it and get it in manufacturing. And and I think at that point he just like realized like I'm here
This
forever.
guy's on it. This guy's on it.
And so I tell him, so we start talking. He's like, yeah, there's like a lot of well, first he's like, you're getting the free college to the guard? I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, there's a lot of job opportunities for this and at Hill Air Force Base in Utah. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm trying to make this invention. But at this point, I'm like, I'm not going to egg the colonel anymore. So turns out he ends up like shaking my hand. He's like, yeah, let me know if you're interested in these like job opportunities. So they were like cussing me out to like liking the idea. There's like him in maintenance. Like he's got a background of being enlisted and also doing the maintenance himself, which is kind of rare for an officer. But it also gives him like a ton of credibility because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I was just like, they're putting tools in like the
turrets and the barrels.
barrel trough, and like this is a huge issue with QA. And I just started like referencing like TOs and all the paperwork and stuff. And then at that point he was just like, oh shit, yeah, this is a big problem. And it turned out good. And I remember when we came back into the shop, well, my escort was just like, he's like one of the supervisors over the shops, and he was just kind of like laughing of like, that was wild. He was like, I've never seen him amped up that much. Like this is like Colonel was known for getting amped up, but not like that much. And then he, when we walked in, the senior master sergeant, he's like, it was funny because there was kind of talk like, this kid's an idiot. Why would you do that? And then the master sergeant was like, dude,
No.
you're gonna be a fucking millionaire. The entire Air Force knew about this overnight.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah. So I like typed up that story because I didn't want to like forget it. I called it brilliance or suicide. But I would say that is the most memorable moment.
Yeah.
Talk about being prepared for your moment, man. Talk about being prepared.
Yeah. I was
Like not wasting an opportunity.
Yeah, I felt like I was in a kayak to like check out a stream, and I just like went down like a class 5, like like yeah, I'm prepared. I got a kayak and a paddle, but shit, I wasn't.
It's like you're off-roading and you're on like the level 1 trail, and you accidentally take the offshoot to like the level 10 trail, and all of a sudden you're like pulling tires up and stuff. You're like, what is going on here?
I'm not buckled in. I'm not buckled in.
yeah. But survived. That was pretty wild.
So what would you say in your entire process from seeing the sticky pad in your mom's car to right now, what would be your biggest challenge or like frustrating moment where you were just like, or like the point where you're like, yeah, I got to walk away from this, or you're ready to like bang your head against the wall? What would be like the most frustrating moment of this whole process for you?
I would say like a frustrating moment something that I struggled with is like, something would be, so something I tell new entrepreneurs is what you expect on day 1 will probably happen on year 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh, I got this good idea. This is a clear problem on the jet. Like this will just be, the entire Air Force will use it like tomorrow, right? It doesn't like work that way.
Normally.
Yeah, like learn that the hard way. But that definitely like having persistence is like a key thing. So there's a lot of like self-doubt, like over and over again of just like, will this work? I mean, the thing is, you don't go into a meeting with Colonel O, get screamed at, and just like, yeah, like, bring it.
Yeah.
You're just like, fuck, dude, I fucked up hard, I gotta handle that better. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Like there's a lot of self-doubt. But just keep having that persistence. I would say hardest. So so many like hard points I would have quit, dude. So one startup weekend. After startup weekend, they're like, hey, we got this this competition called Pitch and Pour. I was like, sweet, I want to do it. This one, there's like money involved. There's like, you can win a bunch of money, and then you can go on to like you can get a lot more resources. This is like a much bigger competition. This isn't like to start a new idea. This is like for ideas that are like off the ground already. So compete in Pitch and Pour. I get first place, win like a couple grand, like awesome, dude. Knocked out the first one. This is great. Knocked out the second one. We're on cloud 9. At this point, I drained all my savings accounts, which was like, I was a really big saver growing up. So this was like 15 grand, which is, I thought pretty good for like someone that's like a freshman, sophomore in college. Yeah. So the plan was I had a Jeep Wrangler, and the idea was to sell my Jeep Wrangler. And I bought a, I think it's a Toyota Yaris, something that was good in gas, not cool at all, but it was good in gas.
The cheapest, best MPG car you could find. The opposite.
How did you fit in that? Dude, you're big, man. You're a big dude.
Maybe it wasn't a Yaris. I don't think it was Yaris, because Yaris is really shitty. It was like a hatchback style car. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, what the plan was, I got accepted to a military business accelerator in Milwaukee. This is like 2014. And so you had the military to be a part of this accelerator. So the idea was that the Jeep was just costing too much in gas. So I bought this Toyota. I bought it at an auction, actually. And the idea was that I would drive that to commute from Milwaukee to Toledo. And it cost, so I was getting like 30, 35 miles per gallon in the Toyota, and the Jeep was like
15, 20
at the best. Yeah, like 15. So what happened was I'm driving the Toyota, and what I was telling you about the story before with the lady Susie that introduced me, that had me email all the generals.
The generals.
Yeah, she introduced me to her friend Hazel Booker. So Hazel Booker, it grew into like, Hazel was this amazing mentor, and it turned into like, we had a phone call, then an email, and then like we would video chat. Like, so she was living in Canada. So she just moved from like Vancouver, Canada to London, Canada, which is like an hour from the Canadian border from like Detroit. So I'm like an hour from Detroit in Toledo. And I was like, hey, you've been a huge help. Is there any way like I could meet you in person now that you live like way closer? She's like, yeah, you can, come up to my place in London, Canada. And honestly, like throughout this whole journey, Hazel was like hands down, like the biggest value of Hazel was just like, it inspired me and kept me going. I really don't think I would have kept going without Hazel. And so I go up there, and she's like, you getting a hotel or anything? I'm like, no, I'm like broke. I don't have a hotel. She's like, well, I got a guest room. You can just sit in the guest room. And what happened was, when I was there, I had my credit card, but I did not tell the bank I was going international to Canada.
Oh no.
So my credit card wasn't working. So I was like, Hazel, you've helped me so much. I want to like take you out to dinner or whatever. Credit card didn't work. Hazel ends up paying for it. I was like, shit. Okay.
Oops.
The next day I'm leaving to come back to Toledo, and I'm like getting hit in a huge like snowstorm. And I'm trying to pass the semi, and I start to fishtail, and I almost had it under control, but I hit the tail end of the semi truck, and it threw me in the ditch. And I'm just like, sitting in the ditch. I don't know if my car's totaled or what. And I'm getting covered with like a snowstorm. And at this point, I was like, shit, I don't know what to do. I get out of the car, and I can't see anything. I wait for like an hour, and I'm like, dude, I got to take a leak. So I like get out and I take a leak, and then like I hear someone like yell or something, and I look over and it's a cop. It's like,
Oh no.
like I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, I'm to the point of like getting done peeing. I don't know if she knows that I was peeing. And I was just like, hey, yeah, how's it going? It was funny because as I was coming into Canada, I was like, I'm not leaving until I hear a Canadian say the word A.
Mhm.
I was with Hazel the whole time, who's actually from Great Britain. So she's had the Canadian accent. So I turn over, see the cop. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And she goes, going too fast there, eh? And I was like, so she has me get in the back of her cop car. She's actually like one of the most attractive cops I've ever seen. But
Cuff me up.
like now is not the time to flirt with a cop. So she takes me to this gas station, and she goes, as we're pulling to the gas station, she goes, yeah, I pulled a dead guy out of a semi truck here the other day. And I'm like,
What?
yeah, I'm like, what the hell? The thing is, she's going to drop me off there. And I'm like, you're going to drop me here? Because she wanted to get me out of the snowstorm, so I wasn't like just sitting alongside the highway. So I'm like sitting at this random gas station, and it's trying to call AAA, which it's not AAA. It's like CAA, because the first A stands for America. That took like me like an hour to figure out that. I'm like, no, I'm trying to call AAA. Like, this is CAA. Yeah.
No.
Says for Canada. They're like, yes, we get that. It's A is for America, C is for Canada. I was like, oh shit, it's like work or whatever. So turns out after a couple hours, they tow the car over to the gas station. I'm like, all right, sweet. And it's funny, the tow truck company is like, it's like the most like father-son combo I've ever seen. It was like, it'd be like, son, go grab the dolly there, eh? And then it's, yeah, don't tell me what to do, eh? And it's just like super Canadian, like father-son bickering back and forth, like the classic combo of like, they can't stand working with each other. They love each other, but they're like the exact same person and just, annoy the shit out of each other. So the guy was like, the car's roughed up, but we're pretty sure that it can run, eh? And so I'm like, all right, I'll drive the car. Start the car up. It's not like running as fast as normally would. You're going like 60, and then I'm like, well, we're going slow. We're getting past, but at least we're moving.
Running. Yeah, we're running.
And then it like starts to slow down to like 50. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe we're like still going. Then it slows down to 40. And then we're not going anymore. I'm like in neutral, just trying to like cope.
Oh, shit.
Fuck. And then also the whole time, I don't have any money. So what happened was I ended up waiting in my car like another hour. Another cop came, sat in the car with him because my car was just like dead, like freezing cold. And then we were waiting so long for another tow truck that his shift was over. I ended up getting in the car with another cop, and he's like, I'm not supposed to do this. So this is called the OPP. It's like their version of the highway patrol or state highway patrol. The OPP, like, they saved my life. But this OPP guy, he's like, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to drive you to the border, and then you can take a bus over to Detroit. My mom was going to pick me up in my Jeep there, my mom and dad. So they pick me. So he takes me to the bus station. I'm like, I don't have any money. Like, I'm completely out. This dude gave me $5, $5 Canadian dollars to like get on the bus and so I could get on to the other side. So it's funny because I had like my prototypes of Grypmats with me, and I remember sitting on the bus, and this girl, she looks at me and she goes, "What's that?" Super long story.
No, you're good.
She's kind of cute. I ended up getting her number, which is kind of funny. Ended up getting in the car with seeing my mom, got the Jeep. Long story short, it was like totaled. The next day I got a bunch of my buddies to like go with me to like get the car. It was hilarious because I had like one buddy was from Haiti, one buddy was from Hungary, and then one guy from actually from America. But the thing was coming back from like, they had no trouble getting to Canada, but coming back, they didn't know if they could get back in the country.
Oh, geez.
So like the Border Patrol was being like a huge asshole to these guys. I was like, fuck, dude. Because I rode with my buddies there, and then I'm riding with the tow truck to come back. So there's like a tow truck. So the thing is, AAA will tow your car like up to 100 miles. I think I was like 91 miles away to get it towed to, we're going to put it in my buddy's driveway. So yeah, tow it to my buddy's place, leave it in the driveway. Finally got it there. And the idea was that I would have a tow truck come and pick it up and scrap it. So the thing was, I was at this like phase. I only had liability insurance, so like it didn't cover anything.
Yeah.
So, like savings money that I took out, like most of it went to this car that I just totaled. And what else happened? Oh yeah. The car, before the tow truck could get there, the car sat in my buddy's driveway for a few days. And somebody's car got a hit and run. So they went on this like investigating thing in the neighborhood and saw my car smashed my buddy's driveway. And I left the plates on it, and they called the cops on my car, and they wanted me to go to court. I just got a phone call like, hey, you got to go to court for a car wreck. And I'm like, I have to go to court to getting in a wreck in Canada? And they're like, no, in Toledo, Ohio, you got in a car wreck. I was like, yeah, I got a car wreck in Canada and had it towed to Toledo. And they're like, no, you did a hit and run, right? I'm like, no. And it turns out, like, I explained the whole thing. Turns out that they just thought that I was the one.
Yeah, because he had a wrecked car.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, they just like accused me of it. And I was like,
oh.
It was like a huge misunderstanding.
Well,
but,
based on how it looked, it's like, wait a minute, dude.
yeah. It was like the perfect like, murder scene. Like, here's the like, the murder weapon, and I was like, the perfect suspect.
Who done it? It's literally right here, face.
Right.
The perfect storm.
So at that point, I finally like get to the military business accelerator. So what happened was, at this point I had one more semester of college, and I dropped out to go do the military business accelerator. And I'm like doing everything I can. I'm like riding the bus because I'm trying to save money on gas, which was like take forever to get. Like what would take a 20-minute drive is like an hour, at least an hour ride on the bus, and you got to wait on the bus. It could easily take an hour and a half. And I was actually would take the mega bus from Toledo to Chicago to Milwaukee, and then I would just take the bus the whole time, and I'd leave my Jeep in Toledo. And then it turned out that the military business accelerator was fraud, because like they were an organization that was getting money, government fund, and they were supposed to take the money and delegate it to the veterans, but they weren't delegating it to the veterans. So I like just moved all my shit out there, bought this car that I ended up totaling, and like at this point I'm like running out of money, and this money from the accelerator is supposed to like get me like keep me going. So I'm like feeling like a huge fucking failure at this point. And at this point I was like auditing a class for free at the college. And it was like an entrepreneur class, and we're supposed to like get buddies or get in the groups of two. And a guy that was in my group, he's like, hey, there's like this business competition I found, but you have to be a registered student. Like you have to like be in the competition. First place wins $25,000. And I'm like, fuck, dude. I'm like, let's do it. I was like, what do I got to do to be in it? It's like, well, reading the fine print is that you had to have 6 credit hours. So, so I get 6 credit hours. I sign up for soccer, yoga, and tennis. And I go to the competition. Now, the thing is, to be a student, like I had to pay like out of state like tuition for these 6 hours. So it, like everything was costing me like $5,000 just to sign up for this. So the kids who I'm competing against are like in a business class, and the teacher who's like leading the competition is just like, hey, if you do this competition, I'll give you extra credit. So like me going in there, like basically like everything that just happened of like accelerator went fraud, you know, having to like upfront $5,000 to be there. Like I'm planning to fucking win.
Yeah.
I am like,
Yeah.
You know, and versus like a kid who's like, yeah, it would be cool to like get extra
I got
credit.
this cool idea. I'd like to just get a little extra credit, bump my GPA.
Yeah. So I like, I am a fucking tiger on stage, and I just fucking go for it. And it was, so what was funny was there was one of the judges afterwards came up to me. So what was happening, everyone presents, then we have a lunch. The judges figure out who wins, and then they'll present. So this probably isn't probably a little against the rules, but I'm like on stage in like my Air Force blues.
Yeah.
I'm playing to win. So so what happened was one of the 3 judges asked me about this like military program, because she was like involved with the military, and like military was very like dear to her heart or whatever. So she had like, you know, family members that was in the military. So I was like, I need to like keep pumping up this judge. So the idea was that the judges were going to get food as like buffet style, and then they would go in a separate room and like discuss. So she put a couple people behind me in the buffet line, and I grab a table right next to the end of the buffet. I take off my jacket and I put it at a chair next to me, and I sit next to that chair with the coat. And as soon as she's done, I go, hey, we saved a seat for you. And she sits there, and she's like, well, I'm supposed to be, you know, with the other judges, but I guess I'll join you for a little bit. And then the entire time I'm just like pumping her up with more information and like what we're doing.
You see, people could get upset about the fact that it's like, oh, that's just called networking in the business world. People would be like, oh, well, that's not right that he buttered up that judge. I mean, that's networking. That's how you get ahead in business. That's how it's being personable, doing things like that, you know?
Right. So at that moment, I'm like, the gloves are fucking off, dude. If I'm gonna pay $5,000 to be here, like this accelerator is going south, like I have to win no matter what. And but yeah, I could see how people might be frustrated with it, but you know, sorry, I thought of it and you didn't.
Yeah.
So what happened was the judges came out. So she ended up going in the room. They figure out who's the winner. And then the judges came out, and I knew I won when one of the judges said something to me, like a different judge said something to me that I told the judge that sat next to me during lunch. So clearly they were talking about me. I never told him that. She told him that, and I was like, this is great. So they're announcing like top 3. It was funny when they announced the second place, like 3 teams looked at me and they just went like this, like, good job, man. Because they just knew that I won. And then ended up winning. They got first place, got the $25,000. And that was like, God, we need something to work.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had
so that was like the moment. That was the kind of the breakthrough, so to speak. You actually had momentum, you had money, you had all that. So I guess going from that, you do Sema Launchpad, and that's great.
So that was That was like 3 years before Sema Launchpad.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
Sema Launchpad. Yeah, that was 2014.
So
So
then
there was,
Yeah.
jump forward to that.
yeah,
And
so Sema Launchpad, at that point, what was crazy with Sema Launchpad is there was like a video session that they wanted to record in Vegas before like
Yeah.
Big C. And I went from like filming at Shark Tank and then flew over to Vegas to film with them. And it was crazy because Brian, I think it's Brian Harrison from Sema,
Yeah,
the
Brian
host of Launchpad. It was me and one other guy that just like flew over. And like I'm well rehearsed, like ready to go.
because you're coming off of Shark Tank.
Yeah, super top secret to like talk about Shark Tank, so we don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And Brian, I walk out to get a drink of water, and Brian walks out, and he looks at me and goes, "So you're gonna be on Shark Tank?" And I was like, no. I was like shocked. I was like, how the fuck did he know?
Yeah.
And then I look at the guy I was with that was with me during Shark Tank, and I was like, did you tell him about Shark Tank? He's like, no, swear to God I didn't. I was like, don't fucking lie to me right now. So the thing is, what I realized at that point, when you're in that stage of the company, a lot of people would be like, hey, you should go on Shark Tank. Or they would, like, when they say, are you going to go on Shark Tank? They mean you should apply for Shark Tank.
Oh.
Applying. But I just was like, fuck, I thought he knew. But
So how
So at
was
this
how
point-
was Shark Tank? Like, if you want to talk about, because everybody knows what Shark Tank is, and that's probably how a lot of people may be familiar with you and your product, just because you're on such a national platform. But I guess what's the cool and interesting stuff from like behind the scenes, either before or after, that people don't really see or get to know unless you're like doing it or unless you've pitched before?
yeah, so like the behind the scenes thing, which I thought like everyone knew this, but it's funny to hear like other Shark Tankers talk about this. When you're done pitching, no matter how good you do or how bad you do,
Mhm.
they have you see a shrink, like a psychiatrist. And
Makes sense.
because it's like, it is a pretty like,
Contracts.
crazy like moment, because you're like, this big thing happens in your life, but they're like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, either you're really pumped or you're like really heartbroken, but you can't tell anybody
Right.
about it.
Right. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, dude, I just rocked out of the park. I got like 3 sharks, this is what I wanted. And then the shrink was like, so how do you feel? And I was like,
Huh?
I was feeling good, but the way you're looking at me, I don't know, like, did I fuck up the deal or was that or what? And then, yeah, so I ended up talking to the shrink. What happened like before, like something I struggled really, really hard with, like going into Shark Tank, was imposter syndrome. So I didn't realize it was that's what I was struggling with until like my buddy Jay, I was texting him and he was like, yeah, you're struggling with imposter syndrome. And I was like, what is that? Once he explained it to me, it like helped me relax a lot more and like take a lot of pressure off. Imposter syndrome is like, basically you feel like you're faking it this whole time. And you're going into like, you feel like you're faking it the whole time and you're about to get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm about to go on national television and get exposed because there's all these issues with the company of like, I did this Kickstarter and like we got all the Grypmats in and like they were coated with like mold release and they're like slimy and not grippy. And I was like, I can't ship out all these like
Yeah.
mats that aren't grippy. That's the whole point of buying it. So we it just turned in. So I was like had all this pressure and anyway, I ended up talking to the shrink about that, which was helpful. And
So is that just one session you have, or do you go consistently to the same shrink after you win or lose or whatever, like get the deal?
so the shrink will give you their contact info. I never hit them up after that. But I've heard of people like reaching out to them for support just because it is pretty stressful. And, I mean, it was super stressful for me and I had like a positive effect from it.
Yeah.
I didn't get like roasted on the show. So, it could be like significantly worse. so what was crazy is like, so right after that, they normally take you to the hotel, but we're like, hey, we got to go to Vegas to film for this Sema thing. So can we just like leave right away? Usually you go back to the hotel and then like the next day you fly out or later that day. So they just take me straight to the airport and we like missed our flight because they don't like give you a for sure time when to film because everyone's like a variable. Like mine was an hour and a half. Some are as short as like, I think the Gronkowski guy was like 30 minutes. Some I've heard as long as like 3 hours.
Oh, wow. So they really
like,
cut it down to what you actually see on TV versus what you pitch.
Right. So I was like an hour and a half. And they cut it down to 12 minutes. So that's like for short. So, yeah, anyway, so we booked tickets to fly to Vegas. And then we like, it's Southwest, we missed it. And then we got, it was funny because we're like, all right, we're trying to like film that same day for Sema. And we like run to the airport. And like, at this point, the only plane leaving is a Virgin plane, a Virgin Airlines.
That's funny.
The irony.
Right. And we're like unloading the bags. I still got like my jumpsuit on from like on the show.
Yeah.
And we're like, we need one-way plane ticket to Vegas. And the girl's like, yeah, you just missed it by 5 minutes. I can't get you a ticket. And then the guy I was with, he's like, who's just with Richard Branson? Let him on the plane. And she's like, I'm locked out of the computer. Like, it won't let me do anything. So if you're trying to book a ticket like too close to like takeoff,
the security,
they just won't let you do it. So next one's from Southwest, but it's leaving like 4 hours later. So I'm still in my jumpsuit, got all these zippers all over it, getting like tagged super hard by TSA because like the radar detector, metal detector went off like crazy, all these zippers. And so I was like, end up taking off the jumpsuit. I'm just in like these like running like basketball shorts and like a white polo or like a white tee. And so if you've ever flown Southwest, it's like this priority system, like group.
Yeah.
So I'm like last of C group because like I just got the plane.
Because it's when you check in, I think, is the order. So since you got your ticket late, it probably puts you in the very last group. Right.
So I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to sit, like get a window seat. That's what everyone wants. If you can't get a window seat, then they want an aisle seat. I'm like, I'm going to get a middle seat no matter what. I was like, it's pointless to like try to get one of those seats all the way in the back. I'm just going to sit towards the front.
Yeah.
So I was eyeing this one spot and this guy said, and then the guy behind me goes, hey, is that seat free? And I was like, fuck. All right. Next one, I'm definitely getting it. I see this guy in like a super nice suit. And I was like, hey, is that seat open? And he's like, yeah. So I sit there and I see the guy, he's looking at his phone, and I glance at his phone and I see a picture of him taking a selfie in the Shark Tank seat that the sharks sit on.
Oh.
I was like, holy shit, you were there. Like looks at me and I'm like, I didn't even know how to like talk at this moment. I'm like, I'm Grypmat. I'm the rubber tray guy. I was like, I had a jumpsuit on, I had a jet on stage.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, I remember you. He's like, you did pretty good. I was like, how did you get that picture? Because like we can't take pictures of anything.
So is everybody watching? Is the rest of the people there watching the other pitches? Like, can you see them, or are you like?
No. They try to quarantine you, no pun intended, away from other pitches because they don't want you to know what happened.
Oh, so you have less to spill the beans.
Right. So the thing is, each shark will have like their own entourage there, or they can have like their own people there. Like Robert has his wife, or Lori's like husband. So this guy has this special like online training software, and Damon uses the software, and they're good friends. So Damon had him come like via his entourage. So Damon, during the breaks in between like setup of like this contest, this to the next one, you know, they'll like bring them out food or like whatever. So in between, he like just got a picture of like with Damon and everybody. So he pulls up on his phone all these pictures of me on stage, and I was like, "How the fuck did you get this?" And he actually, so like the director will have like a giant screen, and it'll be cut up in smaller screens of all the different like camera angles. Yeah. And so he had a picture of me on that screen of like on the giant screen like 20 different times, and we ended up like talking the whole time. I was like, "Hey, what'd you think of this guy's idea? I thought it was kind of dumb." He's like, "Yeah, that guy got roasted." And then you know, this kid, and he's like, "Yeah, it was like that young kid with a skateboard, you know, Branson, you know, saw himself in that kid, and you know, you got to deal with Branson."
Yeah.
It was nice because I was like super sworn to secrecy, and then I got to talk to this dude that was actually there just by like, you know, coincidence. What happened was we ended up getting late to film for
Sema
Launchpad, but we got to film the next day. Actually, I think that was the real film day. They wanted to do like a pre-dinner or something that we ended up moving. I thought that was like the day that they wanted to film, but yeah, it turned out great with the Sema Launchpad. I really like anyone who's got a new product relative to automotive, like definitely apply. Like I think it's like probably one of the a really low hanging fruit. Like anyone can apply, and you can meet so many people, and there's so much like opportunity there that like, you know, there's not, the Sema audience isn't like too much of a younger crowd. So like really highlighting and glorifying, giving like people an opportunity, like younger people an opportunity to like, you know, pitch their product. So yeah, like first place gets 10 grand and in a free booth the next year. Like minus that, there's still a ton of value to it. So
just the people you get in front of alone, just the fact of whether or not you win, just getting in front of that audience and having that platform.
The judges that they have for you too, though.
I think it's I just think it's funny that you went there and won that, but it was after you won Shark Tank, but you couldn't tell anybody. So everyone's like, "Man, dude, you did a great job." You're like, "Oh yeah, this is okay. This is decent, but you know."
Right. So the thing was, when we pitched at like the same time.
Yeah.
But then the real pitch for Sema, like on stage at Sema, so here's the thing with Shark Tank, you don't know when you're going to air. They'll give you like a 2 weeks heads up before like you air, because they're trying to like figure out how it's going to flow with the season. And a lot of times, so they'll film with like 150 on Shark Tank and like 120 will actually air. So there is still a chance that you could film, get a deal and not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know people who've done that, and like, that would suck. So anyway, we get the thumbs up that we're going to air like a week before Sema. So like going into the Sema Launchpad, like at the end of it, I was like, yeah, and tune into ABC. We'll be on Shark Tank next week. So I said that at the very end of my presentation, and then it just like any other competitor, I just like I could just feel it. They're like, "Oh shit." My dad said there was another competitor that he was walking off stage with his dad, and he hit his dad, and he was like, "See, Dad, I told you Grypmat was going to win."
Well, because they're probably like, after you presented, they're like, "Well, he said he's going to be on Shark Tank, and it was a good presentation, so he obviously didn't flop." Like,
yeah. So, yeah, it was pretty cool because like at that point there was so much like momentum. We're just like playing to win. We got a team behind us, and that was like the first. So before that, we had a distributor in the automotive industry, so we like knew that there was like potential. but we didn't like fully understand the gravity. I was honestly kind of apprehensive because I thought, you know, aviation mechanic versus automotive mechanic. Aviation mechanic like pays a lot more money for stuff, but I didn't understand like the whole gravity of like tool trucks and like Snap-on of like,
Yeah.
no, the audience is used to paying a lot of money for tools.
Well, I just think it's interesting that you won SEMA Launchpad. You have this momentum with SEMA, and you use this great platform that SEMA Education provides to do all that. And you didn't ever, when you made your product, you didn't really have automotive in mind. It was kind of a secondary thing to, like you said, to the jets. And now it's kind of almost turned into more of a primary thing. And then you have all these other things like I saw like Disney's using it for things and all this other, like the fact that it's I think it's great to have a product like that. It's so diverse in what it can be used for. Like you had it with one specific thing in mind, but once you get it into hands of other people who are creative or whatever, there's so many other, I think that goes with any invention. You don't realize what it's going to be used for until you start getting it in the hands of people like, oh, I never pictured using it that, but that's a great use for it.
Right. Yeah, there was a period where it, like a light bulb went off of understanding like this isn't an aviation product. This is a product to organize tools.
Yeah, it's a tool product.
Tools, that's where the Grypmat can be. So, and then also like a lot of kickback that we get in the automotive market will be like, well, I got a tool tray. So, or I got like a tool cart.
Yeah.
So like a tool cart is an extension of a toolbox. The Grypmat is an extension of the tool cart. So like the tool idea of the tool cart is that you're not going to use all of your tools, just load up the tools that you're going to use and then bring that to the car. You know, the idea of the Grypmat is like bringing your workstation directly onto where you're working. So instead of like turning around every time you need to grab a tool, you're just working like this.
Like having a third hand, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like holding your stuff right next to you. Which is like, you know, the same, which is wild. Like that issue is the same thing on, you know, from Disney to, you know, working on a car to working on a fighter jet to, you know, working on, you know, any type of plane. So, yeah, SEMA like really kicked it off, and like it was cool because it like really forced us to understand and like think of how it could be used in the automotive industry and like how it can be marketed. Like we do get like probably the past 3 to 6 months, we've been getting a ton of interest from off-roading, just because, you know, when you get broke down on when you're off-roading, it's like you don't break down in your garage. You break down in like the worst places. You're like,
you know where all that interest for off-road's Joe. He always has his Grypmats in the Jeep. You better be sending him those those commission checks. He's got his Grypmat in the back of the Jeep constantly.
And this has actually been for years, even when I first met you, Tom, and stuff, man. Like when I first got the orange ones, and then actually got the green ones sitting in this box. But my biggest thing for them was just bolts, man. Bolts, nuts, springs. I used to use the orange one with the 4 side pockets for assembling my paintball gun. So I would take that with me to the paintball fields, take that out there. Like that way, like you don't lose anything. It's all right there.
Joe was so excited when he got the green one, because you don't know how many times he goes, yeah, the first time he showed me it when I first started, he goes, yeah, these are really neat. I know the guy who makes them, Tom. He's a great guy. I love it. I just wish they were green. I wish they were green, man. I wish they were green. He goes, I've been asking him. And then he one day goes, look what I got. Tom got me green ones. They're making green ones. He was so excited.
So that was like a limited edition that we did. It's,
the second Kickstarter that you did, I believe.
Well, no, we did like a run of 100.
Oh,
and sold
Christmas.
all of them in like 10 hours. So we're going to be like revisiting that really big.
Hopefully.
We've got like a large order. We're having some like delays due to COVID, but green's like a huge request in the automotive industry, which is kind of wild.
There's a whole, I don't know what it is. Like I used to work on on motorhomes, so I was part of a lot of like mechanic pages and tool pages and stuff.
Amen.
And there is a huge demand
Pockets.
for green anything. Like there's literally a whole Facebook page that's dedicated to green tools and where to find green tools specifically.
Yeah. There's one called Green Tools Matter.
Yeah. Yep. That's the one.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's wild. Our chief marketing officer, he just bought a camper. So he's going to be like, he likes to travel a lot. So he's going to be like, the mobile home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I guess there's like, I keep getting hit up about the mobile home industry of like having grip mats because when you're driving, everything's like sliding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll like find a solution for that. But it's interesting, like finding these markets. Like people be like, oh yeah, Grypmat's a niche product, where I think like there's a large market, but there's like a collection of niche markets. And it's interesting seeing what like their likes and dislikes. For example, automotive just fucking loves green.
Yeah.
Now on our website, every Grypmat that's bought, we throw in a free 10 mil socket.
I saw that. I love that.
That was pretty genius. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we had free 10 mil sockets at the last SEMA as giveaways. Dude, people fucking love
Came
that.
back for that.
Because it's just because even if people don't lose them, even if people don't,
You
people
will
want
need
one
it.
just for like the meme of it. Even if they're not going to use that, they just want to put it on their desk and be like, I got my Grypmat 10 mil socket. Like it's just for the joke. They want it just because of that.
Right.
What size mat? Sorry to interrupt. What size mat do you sell the most of? Because I've only bought the trio packs, but I'm wondering which one you think would be.
So, most sold is the medium, but like we've been more of online sales, and we do get like the trio pack has been our star. So,
makes sense.
What happens is like if people don't know what they want, they'll go with the medium. If if it's like a high-end professional, I'm going to use this stuff every day, they just go with the trio pack.
I'd imagine there's probably a lot of people who might order the medium and then maybe go back and just buy the trio because they're like, they're like, oh, I like it, and
I need this.
having two mediums doesn't really bother me, so I might as well just order the 3.
Yeah. The medium is like designed specifically for hand tools. So like the medium is definitely a good fit for underneath, the hood of a car. If it's like a lighter job, if it's a heavier job, you're going to want all 3. But the thing is with like difference between that and on an aircraft, like on a plane, you have an entire wing that you can just easily throw down the large. So sometimes underneath the hood, you got more limited space, so the large doesn't really make sense. But so
that's a good point.
But like you said, for off-roading, I could see the large being really good because if you're like under a Jeep on like a rocky trail or something, that gives you a whole like surface area to throw down next to you, and you're not losing your like tiny tools and nuts into the rocks, and then you can't find them. You get the flashlight out trying to like look in the rocks and stuff.
Right. A big thing is like
it's got decent pockets. It's got decent pockets on it, actually. That's one of my biggest things is just the pockets and room to set down a tool,
Yeah. So like the big thing is, this is off-roading. I say off-roading and semi trucks do this a lot, is setting the Grypmat, the large Grypmat on the tire. Cause like when you're working on an off, your off-roading vehicle or a semi truck is like the tires are bigger than normal. It's also a hot spot to set nuts and bolts, and they just, it can easily fall off. So setting that Grypmat on there just really.
How is it? And I haven't tried this yet, but so say you take, you get your Grypmat and you set on top of your tire, but say you just got an off-road, so you're gonna have a lot of mud and just nasty gunk, when that lays on there, and then you take it off, will it still stick on stuff or? Just gotta clean it off, probably.
Yeah, just clean it off. Like soap and water make it do again, which might be hard when you're on the trail. But the thing is, when you're working on the car, the grip isn't like as big of a necessity. It's definitely a necessity to a point, but it's not as like critical for it to be like super clean, like on an aircraft. Because sometimes on an aircraft, you're like a pretty slope. And sometimes you're like on top of the aircraft. So like if you drop something, it could drop like 2 stories. But the thing is, for, you know, an off-roading or a car, like the big thing is that color has like a visual management. So, and also like getting in the habit of constantly like setting your tools in the same place, because, you know, you get into a job, you got nuts and bolts everywhere, and it's hard to like keep. It's very easy to like lose things, or like the small, like having all these different compartments. You know, helps organize it, or like, you know, I've had people like different parts, like left side of the car, right side of the car, vice versa.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can actually write on them with a Sharpie marker and wipe it off.
I got the picture of Joe using up on the stream right now for everybody. Joe using Grypmat to on top of one of our tires when he was using it to hold a beer. Very, very effective use there. Joe putting in a lot of work with holding his beer on the tire.
That's the orange ones. Yeah, that was in Hatteras Island at Outer Banks in North Carolina.
Yeah, we've seen like another new market is we've seen the law enforcement and in-home defense. So like cops like to
maintenance
in it.
Makes
that
sense.
that medium size one's probably perfect for that, man.
Yeah. Or like sometimes like officers, they have gear for like shotguns or rifles. The larger one, they'll like. So like a normal procedure would be like lay out a towel, and then like you're cleaning it on a towel.
Yeah.
And like things roll off, or, you know, this is like keeping it contained. You know,
small parts.
Crash anything.
So how has the current, you know, besides ending up in Hawaii, how has the current events here affected your guys's kind of workflow, brand strategy, product availability, that sort? Like, did you see, because I know we saw a huge spike, at least in the last 2 weeks, in terms of sales and online sales and that sort of thing, because of the stimulus checks hit. Everybody got that $1,500 and they were like, yeah, baby, I'm going out, I'm buying some tires. So are people just going crazy with Grypmats? Did you see anything like that?
So I would say overall with sales, like the automotive market has like definitely like declined a lot, just because like there's not like professional mechanics aren't really working right now. And
I would think the Grypmat's more of a luxury item in terms of like mechanical like tools, like in a mechanic's tool chest. Not that it's not a necessity, but they're gonna probably buy, you know, sockets over that if they're not making, you know what I mean?
Right. It's definitely not like a have to have. It's definitely a nice to have.
Yeah.
There's which what we like realized is like a lot of these retailers, they're kind of getting their butts whooped by Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon will have it shipped to you in 2 days, but the retailer is saying, well, we have it in stock right now. That's the value of us, of like very quickly, you know, delivering a product. Or, you know, same thing with the tool trucks, that we can get it to you right now. You don't have to wait.
Oh, and the other thing that the big tool truck thing that people don't realize is because a lot of people I know who are more casual mechanics, they're like, well, why do mechanics pay so much for all the tool truck stuff when you can get just as good stuff even at Home Depot? I'm like, well, because when they break it, they can warranty it for you right there. And if you're a mechanic, you need a replacement now, and you don't want to have to go buy it. So you call up Snap-on, and the guy's there. He's going to warranty it for you on the spot.
Right. So that like there's value to that like urgency and that delivery, but what we realize is that the Grypmat, I mean, it is very nice to have. It can reduce your maintenance time by 25% and like save you thousands of dollars of like lost tools. But the thing is, not having a Grypmat does not equal you can't finish a job.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the like, we have to have this all the time. So they can wait those 2 days to ship it. So we've seen like it be really beneficial for us to like work more direct to consumer. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, it's okay to like have that shipping time. It's critical to like be on that truck. So, but yeah, we did see like in the law enforcement and like the in-home defense, like a huge spike. Cause like Joe, what you're saying of cleaning, like using it.
Maintenance, small parts, man.
Yeah. It's like the same thing of, you know, usually when you're, you know, working on it, it's not in like a you're usually like outside, you drop something in the grass or something. So we have seen like a huge, we've shifted everything to the law enforcement, and we have seen like a very big, like,
I
So
would
do
say
you, when someone buys direct from you, do you have a way of like kind of asking them like when they check out their intended use, so you can kind of get a gauge on that? Like what are you, what kind of consumer are you? Like, are you a mechanic? Are you a career mechanic? Are you law enforcement? Do you have something like that set up so you can kind of gauge that? Or are you just going more based on what you see in terms of social and other things like that?
so we can, we have like different, this is very like recent, the past month or so. We have like different ad funnels.
Yeah.
So this is for boating, this is for off-roading, this is for motorcycles, this is for law enforcement, this is for, you know, general purpose. And so we can see who's clicking on those, and like they're going on the landing page. So they're seeing those ads targeted toward it. They're going to that landing page, just focused on that industry. And then we're seeing them buy. So we have an understanding of like, you know, that, okay, this is a boating person, but like, long story short, we don't have that data yet. That's something that we want to sort out more, just so we can like communicate to our like users better, and also, you know, get better information, you know, just be able to like talk their language more and find more ways of using it.
I think
you
like,
ever computers.
I think like you
Sorry to
said,
cut you off.
with the off-roading market, I think that's going to be like, it may be one of the first things to decline, because off-roading is considered kind of a luxury item, so to speak, in terms of not everyone can afford a Jeep. But I think it's going to probably bounce back after this better than before, because people are going to be more interested in getting away from everybody else. How can I go overlanding? How can I go camping? How can I go RVing? How can I go off-roading? Those are the industries that I think are going to survive and come back even stronger, because people aren't going to want to stay in hotels. People aren't going to want to go to packed bars. People aren't going to, even if you can, people aren't going to want to congregate like that. So I think, like you said, those industries are going to be the big ones.
Yeah, that's interesting what you're saying, because like, one, people are going to be like more stir crazy, wanting to go do things, and then like initially probably want to go do things that's not around a bunch of people, which would be off-roading. Yeah, we have like made a whole like off-roading funnel, and like I think right now just like keep testing it and fine-tuning it, not like dumping a lot of money into ads. But yeah, I think once, you know, things get back to normal, I think it's gonna spike up.
I think with the off-roading one interesting, kind of like matching to that 10 millimeter socket type of model would be how do you fit it more specific to like Jeeps, you know, how do you store it? Because for us, I always stored it in the cardboard box. So I've had the cardboard box like forever, you know. Or it did work for me well when you had that little that bungee wrap on them.
Yeah,
that worked pretty well. But some people, you know, it's whatever. Once you lose that, I kind of just get another one. But
yeah, a storage solution for inside
some
the
kind
Jeep,
of storage, man.
something like that would fit nice
the
in the
frame.
Jeep. I could definitely see
To the frame, dude.
being. I know the.
Yeah.
I believe it's the JLs. So the one you have there, if you go in the back in the trunk and you lift up, there's like a floor compartment, and there's a even bigger compartment than what we have in there. And if you could somehow size it to slot in there, because it could be used for storage inside while it's sitting in there, you could divide stuff, and then you could pull it out and use it. I think that would be really beneficial.
You're right. Now nice and dry.
This newer model, I store the grip mats in the back, where there's like a little floor compartment, probably similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Interesting. Makes sense.
Yeah, maybe just get a quick video of that.
Yeah.
People where they can store it.
Well, because I didn't even know the newer Jeeps had that, because ours is a JK and the compartment isn't that big. And I only know because my buddy who has a JL sent me a picture of he's like, yeah, I found you could fit a compressor and all this stuff back there. I'm like, our compartment's not that big. I didn't even know. So like, if a grip mat that you have fits back there, I would definitely think that would be a great thing for people to see. Because I think having Jeep people, especially in like overlanding, it's all about space efficiency. Like you see these guys, they got the drawer setups, they got all this. So like if there's, they love like things that make their life easier, but also can slot right in somewhere.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But for me, straight up, I think the most is just little nuts, bolts, springs, man. Good maintenance for everything, just keeps them all in one place and they're not flying around everywhere.
Yeah. It's like the like satisfying organizing product for the unorganized person.
Yeah, right. So everything.
I would say that's literally the perfect like consumer description of Joe. An organized product for the unorganized person.
There's a method to the madness. There's a method
Joe,
to the madness.
Joe, can we get a Grypmat set up for your desk at the office?
Right. That's when you have little pockets.
Yeah, can Tom, we're gonna design something for Joe to keep it more organized at his desk. Stick all his stuff together.
Joe, where's your pens?
Right. Pen slot? Right. Dang it, failed. What events do you see yourself kind of going to next, I guess, if or when how this rolls out?
Yeah, I mean, when we're allowed to do like in-person events.
Right. Yeah.
Sema is definitely a keeper. Like,
do you think Sema's gonna happen?
I think so.
To some extent.
You think?
I mean, we still got some time till Sema.
Do you think if it happens, there's going to be a significant decrease? You think people are going to still be scared come November to go to something like that?
I don't know. So it could go either way. That could happen, or people just are so stir crazy. Like, this is like the thing that they can finally go to. Like, you're not just going out into normal life, which is exciting. You're going out to Sema.
Yeah.
That you've been waiting for since last Sema. So yeah, I don't know. I'm confident that numbers will be strong, but that is a thing that could happen for sure.
I just think that's been the big question to everybody on the show is I guess the whole conversation because I think Sema's like the benchmark in terms of one of the largest gatherings of people that shows up in Vegas, and they keep saying that large gatherings are bad for this. So I mean, I think if Sema happens in some form or fashion, that will be one of the biggest steps, at least us as an industry could take in the right direction, I would hope.
Yeah. Another thing that's like kind of crazy is during Sema is when the election will be.
Yep.
True.
Which will be interesting. I feel like, no matter what happens, people will be pissed.
I don't know. I think the whole big thing is it's just going to be interesting because in terms of, again, I'm not going to get into the super politics of it, but in terms of just the election, this happening in an election year, regardless of who you support, is absolutely insane because it's just dominated the news. Like, no one's paying attention to anything election. Like, if this was any other year, it would be like the headlines every day would be poll numbers and election results and debates and rallies and this and that. And it's just not.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's interesting. I kind of wonder, like, as soon as Corona dies down, it'll just be like, boom, like extra hard politics. Yeah, I think Sema specifically is going to be a very like controversial area for politics because traditionally like automotive industry is very like Republican, but then most of the people are coming from California that are, there's a lot of Democrat there. So
I think Sema in general is going to be controversial and interesting because there's going to be the camp of we should have never done this. Why is everybody there? And then there's going to be the camp of people who are goes, well, we need to go here for business and are kind of in the middle. And then there's the camp of I'm going to walk around Sema and lick the door handle of every car I see because I'm not going to get Corona. So it's just it's going to be the mix of people is going to be so interesting. So we'll see how that goes.
In my own experience, like thankfully being able to attend Sema for several elections or whatever, thankfully people for business, they realize that like you got to work with people, right? So you see past a lot of things because it's business and you have to be like that. And you have to be as impartial and, unbiased and just like, because like you're here to conduct business, So but like I do think that Sema, you do see a lot of people by the TV screens waiting for results, seeing who did what and what's going on. I mean, so you do have their attention there, and then once the results are out, then everybody's celebrating, not celebrating, but everyone's having a drink.
And I think to a degree, it is what it is. Like it's like the election happened. Let's move on and do business. I think for a lot of those people, like I mean, you might get. I think on both sides, in general, the media covers it's the minorities who scream the loudest, and not as in racial the minorities of people opinions.
People.
It's the small groups that scream the loudest that get the coverage. So I think the majority of people aren't gonna freak out.
Yeah. I think what's going to be interesting is like there will be a broad array of like guarantee there'll be the people who think like Corona's fake. Like every doorknob of all these cars.
Yeah.
So that all the way to the germaphobes. That'll be funny.
The scale of everything. But I like today, I believe actually was like one of the last days that you can select certain things for SEMA or whatnot. But people in the automotive industry, man, are very gung-ho, like keep going forward,
Well, I forgot who it was. The VP of events for SEMA said that they feel they're going to keep moving forward, moving forward strong. And I mean, 30, that's a good 60, attitude 90. To have. I don't know if it's a realistic attitude to have, but you got to be,
right. Flexible and adaptability. I think that's one. This is one good thing for everybody. It's going to measure your flexible adaptability to things, man, and just like learning how to go with things and roll with the punches type situations.
Yeah,
and learning how to like listen to people when they have to vent for some things, right, or whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what's SEMA like 3-4 months at least?
Yeah, because
like
November
more actually
8th or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like
so there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
I just wonder how close they're going to actually call it and make a decision. Because I mean, you got companies, like the position we're in. SEMA is a big undertaking for even the small booths, even the smaller companies.
Yeah.
You're putting a ton of money, resources, time, personnel to get that out there. So is SEMA going to come out like 2 weeks before? Actually, just kidding, guys. We're not going to have it. Like everyone's like going to be we've like already bought stuff for our booth. We've already like committed to this monetarily. I mean, even if SEMA's going to refund you your booth fee, that's all fine and dandy, but there's so much more to it than just that.
Right. That could be a tenth of the cost. Yeah, for sure. But I guess the events will be doing like 100% SEMA. Want to do some more off-roading events. Want to get like really dive into like kind of like niche / cult followings within
those groups.
Like I want to make like a really cool video for like detailing the car, like buffing the car, because sometimes they're like setting the buffer, setting like the wax on, like the can of wax on the car. So like if they have a Grypmat, a lot of people who are buffing cars like to set it on the Grypmat. Just find like more niche markets within the automotive industry that we could really
I think the off-roading community, especially like if you start to target like Jeep events, and if like you're talking selling direct to consumer, if you could go to some of these events, so many people come to us and they want to buy stuff, and we're talking tires. So this is a big, I want to buy some right now. I'm like, okay, well, I don't just keep a stock of tires just racked up in the back, but if you could bring some of those, I think and especially like certain show pricing or promotions or whatever, like if people buy them right then, I think you'll definitely be able to kind of get into that community fairly easily, especially if there's a lot of these events where people are actually off-roading at the event and potentially breaking stuff. So if you have that right there and it's like, oh, hey, you just broke down. What if you had this? Like,
yeah, what would be interesting is sell the Grypmats. If you break down, I'll give it to you for free.
That'd be good. Somebody comes back with it like broken. You get a refund or something.
I think a lot of it too comes down to like in-use stories, right? Like you gave somebody a Grypmat, they use it on the trail, they sell them someone saw them use it. Hey, what is that? The typical word of mouth kind of thing. Yeah. But in off-roading for sure, I think is like what is my friend using? How did he use it? How did it function? All right, cool.
Brand loyalty in off-roading is, I mean, it's big anywhere, but in off-roading especially, people are the grassroots kind of following and being out there. Like it's like we go out to Colorado, and like, so this event we do all for fun in Colorado. It's only 1 day of vending, like a 1 day vendor show, but we're out there the whole week and going on the trails. And the average person event,
that's why it's a week long event.
Yeah, it's a week long event. And people would be like, why do you go out there and just go on the trails? That's not not a good business decision. Like just going out there and I mean, on the surface, yes, you wouldn't think like it's a good business decision because we're just out there hanging out and trail riding all day, but it's great content for us in terms of pictures, videos, content consumption, and it's great grassroots marketing because people are always skeptical. Like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to talk to you about it in my booth and this and that, but people want to see something being used in the real world. So if you're out there on the trail with somebody and they break down and you walk up and you're like, here, use this Grypmat, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Why don't I have this? Or like we're out there with our tires and they're like, oh my God, how did you climb up that? That's great. Like people want to like see it in person. Cause like even on a video with nobody believes anything that's even on video these days. So if you can go out and do events like that, that's a great event for us in terms of that market because people are actually seeing stuff and getting a way better, if not completely different value than just talking at like a booth at a trade show.
And what's interesting too is the demographics. Why speaking on the marketing aspect, it's a lot of older demographics, but they're a lot more credible and they know what they're talking about because they've been through so much, so they can compare the products a lot better.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to get on one of those like week-long trips and just anyone who breaks down.
Soon you got to join us.
Yeah. I'll have to go to the same one that you guys are in. Just like anyone who breaks down gets free Grypmats, and then it just like turn into a photo shoot of like, so what happened here? And then
that's how it is though, man. That's how it is. Even
I
with
would
those
say the two big events for like that there's three. Two that we've done. There's Moab. Well, there's actually four that I can think of. Moab, which is Easter Jeep Safari, All for Fun in Colorado. There's Jeep Beach, which is less trail riding. They have like an obstacle course and stuff out there, so there's probably less likely to break, but it's still a huge spread of Jeeps, and it's in Daytona, so I mean that's still just an awesome event to go to. Yeah. And there's one that we haven't gone to, but I think it's their third or fourth year out in Sand Hollow, Utah. That it's like very new, and I've heard it's Trail Hero, that it's very kind of up and coming. And that has a lot of trail rides too. So in terms of people looking to do real world stuff, that's
the only ones you left out on there was the King of the Hammers, man. If there's anybody that's doing maintenance,
that's a completely different scope. But yeah, I definitely think those Ultra 4 guys and King of the Hammers, if you walked around and handed out a few of those things to those guys, that's perfect use case, because especially in those King of the Hammers and like the remote pits and stuff where they're working on the ground.
And back to the Hammers. It's early February, and it's in Johnson Valley, California. And I feel like that's kind of like right up there with Moab as far as being an event that's going to test your product and see what it's worth,
It's a huge Ultra 4 event out there, and I think that would be a great kind of showcase for Grypmat. I mean, it was great for us to kind of showcase the tires out there with Edwin on his truck, and I think going out there with Grypmat and seeing these guys, because like they have their main pit, but even their main pit, it's all on like the ground. And they have like right now, from what I've seen, they put like big tarps down that the vehicles drive on, but it's still, you're just working on a tarp. So having something like a Grypmat
and off the back of a truck, out of the back of a truck.
Yeah. So having something like a Grypmat would be perfect for that scenario.
Yeah.
That thing gets.
My videographer and I could go out there for a week. That'd be dope. I'd be like a blast to like go on the same one that you guys are on and just.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like I think King of the Hammers next year, you would you'll love
one of these off-roading trips. You're trying to get into off-roading. We'll get you out there in our Jeep and do some stupid stuff and get you hooked.
You said Moab?
Yeah,
so Moab, Utah, Easter Jeep Safari. That's
Easter
that
Jeep
one.
Safari. Yeah, that one is during Easter.
Yeah.
Technically it would have. Yeah.
The next one.
That's another one that's awesome.
The next Jeep event that we have upcoming is, which I don't know if it's going to happen, would be Bantam Jeep Fest in Butler, Pennsylvania. They do some cool wheeling there. It's very different because it's East Coast wheeling. It's not rocks. It's not mountains or anything. But it's pretty local to you, Ohio. I mean, we go right through Ohio to get there. It's June 12th and the 14th. They do they have probably, how many trails out there you think they run? Like 6 maybe, Joe?
6, and they've built like some different side ones for like certain organizations to run.
They have like obstacles and stuff, but it's a 3-day vendor show and that all that stuff too. And then the other big one this year would be that one in Colorado, All for Fun. That's in July. And then I think Trail Hero, which as of now we're not doing, that's in like October, just before SEMA.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I'm still in Hawaii, then as soon as I leave Hawaii, I'm down. But yeah, mid-June, maybe we could do that one.
Yeah.
Or the July one.
That one. What's kind of cool about that place where they do it at Cooper's Lake Campground and all that. That some of those trails that they open up, they only open them up during this event actually. So like it's a lot
shit.
of, yeah, I think it's a lot of land that's like privately owned or something like that, where it's just. But however, yes, they only open them during this event, but a bunch of the volunteers set up way in advance to clear the trails out and make it accessible and usable by everyone.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. And then you guys take your own Jeep there?
Yeah.
That's this one. That's in the background of.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Jeep.
Yeah, that's
a nice
the Jeep.
But this year it'll have a lot of beefed up stuff, so it'll be a lot funner.
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience. Like I was very much mechanically inclined before I came to Atturo, very much a kind of work on your own DIY kind of person, and I'm very familiar with cars and stuff. Never really super got into off-roading, like I mean here and there. So it was definitely even a learning experience for me in terms of we started with the Jeep on it had different fenders on it. It's still actually the same lift it's always had, the TerraFlex 3-inch or 3.5, Joe?
The 3-inch
TerraFlex lift on 37s, but we've learned, we've changed out the body a little bit and done the upgraded heavy duty steering, hydraulic steering, all that. Because the thing people don't realize when they put on bigger tires, they're like, oh, well, I just want to slap on the biggest tires I can fit, and maybe I just need a lift, and then I'm good to go. And then they're like, well, now this thing steers like crap. Now it drives. I'm like, well, because you didn't do any of the supporting stuff. You just slapped on the biggest tires and some taller springs and thought you were good to go. That's not how this works. Like tires, honestly, in terms of like everyone wants to do wheels and tires first. On a Jeep, it's realistically like one of the last things you should do, especially if you're starting with a Rubicon, because like it's very capable from the start and you can still lift it and upgrade all that other stuff. And then you're ready to put the tires on and you're good to go. But everyone's like wheels and tires first. And then I'm just going to be behind the 8-ball the entire time.
Well, they like from the few SEMA reports that I've read back in the days, like, year over year type thing. The first thing that you will notice off a vehicle is going to be, before it used to be wheels actually. So wheels was the number one thing that people would notice. However, I feel that like Atturo and I don't know other companies, once you start changing your sidewalls out, now they differentiate from other tires and they have some style to them. So like wheels and tires. Now I think that's the whole like the first thing you see. But you still need to lift though, because you have to.
Well, Joe, so it's funny. My buddy with those 37 bosses that he's putting on his Jeep.
Yeah.
He had his stock Rubicon tires, wheels and tires, and he's like, well, I'm gonna throw these up on Facebook Marketplace, so then when I get everything else done, they can sell. Sold them in one day for like $1,500. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna need those tires a little quicker now.
No.
So you can actually, we looked, and you can actually fit 37s on the brand new Rubicons, 0 lift. You get no articulation. You like can't flex at all, but you can drive around on 37s with no lift.
It's funny.
Yeah. No, and like we follow a couple different Jeep groups here and there. Sometimes people run into a good deal on something, so that's the rims and tires that you have, But yeah, man, I think like 17s, 18s are usually pretty good, right? 20s reasonable as far as a wheel.
Well,
so,
yeah.
But I think it's interesting. Someone else mentioned that Utah event that you were talking about, the Trail Hero event.
Well, yeah, because I just saw this week that Trail Hero event in Utah. So the group that's all public use land out there. It's not privately owned, and I guess it's a big deal because that organization just posted and they got a group together to go out there. Someone who was, because they don't run it. It's publicly run. It's like run by the BLM, but they just get permission for their event. but I guess somebody else was out there wheeling and did a bunch of graffiti on some of the rock formations.
Oh shit.
So yeah, that's a good way to like ruin it for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you go on those trips, is it just you two and a videographer?
No, it's just us two.
We are the videographers.
We are the
Okay.
videographers.
We are the videographers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the other big people think. So we have a 30-foot gooseneck trailer that we haul the Jeep in. We tow that I drive, and we tow it with a Ram 2500 pickup.
Yeah.
The Jeep goes in there. All our show stuff goes in there. And I mean, I think another big thing that's been great for us is we operate pretty leanly in terms of our shows. Like a lot of these companies, you know, they have a different crew come set up and a different crew that drives, and then they fly the sales team out there to work the booth and this and that.
Right.
No, like for us, it's me and Joe load up the trailer, load up the Jeep, drive out there, unload the trailer, unload the Jeep, set up the booth, work the booth, get back in, drive back. So in turn, like, yeah, it's a lot of work. And like, and then at the same time, while you're trying to talk to people about your product, you're also trying to get videos and pictures and this and that. So it's definitely a hustle, but I think that's good for us because we can operate at a much leaner form in terms of like our mobility and in terms of our budget.
Or at least like learning what it takes to start it. And then you get it to a certain level where you're like, okay, I do need to reach out to someone to do something more high quality. Like there are some events like King of the Hammers, again, you know, bringing that up, where we'll schedule certain photo shoots with Edwin and, you know, photographer like Doug actually did all, he'll chime in on the Facebook Lives pretty a good amount. But yeah, so you'll schedule certain, because those are moments and events that are just like the scenery, like you're not going to get it again, you know. Like, so you definitely want to, but GoPro mounts, using a lot of different mounts and zip tying everything.
I think.
What are you gonna say?
I think it definitely gives you an appreciation doing it yourself first. So you have expectations when you hire somebody, like you have expectations and like they're not unrealistic because you're like, yeah, I've done it's the whole the CEO that started from sweeping the floor. I mean, not that dramatic, but the fact of the matter, like. You're going to hire somebody and you're not going to have these super unrealistic expectations for them because you've been in their shoes before. So I think that's a good thing too. When we eventually bring somebody on who's going to be more dedicated to that media aspect, I think that's good. I mean, right now, even I don't edit the stuff. We work with somebody else to edit our stuff like off company just because that's easier for us. Like right now I probably could, but we're also not going to events and getting content, but it's great because if we're traveling consistently, I don't have my work machine to edit on, so I can just dump all this stuff in a Dropbox and have somebody else spit out a video to me.
Yeah. Do you guys so at these events, there's basically like a little trade show thing, and then everyone goes off-roading?
So yeah, like some of them do. A lot of the ones we do have some sort of aspect of either off-roading or like an obstacle course. The Colorado one is very nicely set up because it's a week-long event. They have 5 days of trail riding and 1 day of a vendor show. So it's nice because they put the vendor show, the day they do the vendor show, there's no trail rides. So you have a very captive audience. There's not, people aren't, which is one of the things I don't like as much about the Easter Jeep Safari event in Utah. The vendor show is going on the same time as trail rides.
Yeah, everyone's on the trail. So
people will walk in there and like come through quick and they're like, oh, I'm trying to get on the trail this morning or this afternoon or whatever. So it's the Colorado one's nice at all for fun because you have because the majority of those people camp out there too. It's like they have tents and RVs and stuff. So they're on site. You have a captive audience. They're going to come through, look at your product. They don't have anywhere else to be. So they're willing to like kind of have that higher level conversation with you than just, yeah, I'm going to come through here quick and take a look, and then I got to go to the trail rides. That's really what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool if we could do some type of a collab. Like our videographer, Alex, is amazing. Yeah. And we just recently bought a drone while we're here.
Nice.
We can get some killer content of like Jeep off-roading and like and everything. So, you know, potentially we could, I guess what I'm envisioning is like, your booth with your Jeep, just throw some like Grypmats on there. Yeah. We can have like our own like little Grypmat table and then just have Alex just like running content the whole time. Just because I know how it is, like when you're just running a booth and then it's like, hey, did you take a picture before the trade shows happened and post it. You're like, no, dude.
See, the problem is
Your customers.
that's Joe with me. Oh, did you get some pictures? Did you do this? Did you do that? Like, I'm trying. I was setting. It's like you get there and you get there and you're setting up, and like the best is you get there and you like just finish setting up, and it's a little easier for you because you just have the grip, like, but we're like unload tires out of the trailer. I'm like sweaty and gross, and because some days we'll like before this hasn't happened recently because we have the bigger trailer, and when you have a bigger trailer you have to get there early or else they won't let you in because you're not going to be able to navigate the aisles and not hit people's tents. But when we would have a smaller setup, we'd get there and set up same day. So like people start walking around and I'm like trying to like unload tire. I'm like all sweaty. I'm like, give me a second. Like, hold on. Like, let me go change my shirt or something, cause and I think like I said, a lot of these bigger companies are just operating with such a different kind of system. Like we have the crew who drives the truck and then they set it up. And then a lot of these places, they just, fly in their sales team or fly in whoever, like for the 2 days the show is, and then they just do that and then fly back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's also costing them like significantly more. It sounds like you had a pretty efficient system. It's pretty cool.
I think it's just a couple years of like doing it, and like that's what's funny how Colin says if I ask him, "Have you done this? Have you done that?" Like because when I first started off, it's like anything, right? Like you're fresh, you're just gung ho, and it's like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I wasn't too big on, but Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook a little bit here and there, posting. And one thing I got big on towards the end was like time lapses. I thought those were kind of fun and stuff. Thankfully, this year we've actually taken a little new approach where Colin's using the GoPro a lot more. And we even had a standard where like nothing gets posted from your phone. However, mind you, this is pre these phones having like great cameras now, Yeah, these phones have amazing cameras.
Well, because my next thing with speaking of the camera equipment and this and that. So, I mean, I still like the GoPro more for most things, only because I like having it. You can easily put it on your phone if you need to post it somewhere. And you have it stored on that SD card, so it's like easy to get to the computer rather than you got to plug your phone in and try to transfer it and this and that. But I'm gonna go do a photo shoot with our Ranger that we're building and take pictures of it. My plan is to do a comparison between I have an old DSLR, like a Canon T3i, so it's 7 years old now. I want to see how good pictures that takes versus my new S20. Because how good is a new smartphone versus an old DSLR? Because
I got the new Apple. This camera is phenomenal.
Max 11 right there.
Yeah, so it's my big thing is to see, because if I could use my phone, it would. I mean, obviously you're not going to get as great stuff. This claims the 100x special zoom lens, and this I'm like that's a gimmick. You're never going to get out of a digital or dedicated lens the same kind of zoom you'll get with a nice camera, but I think for just standard photography, I'd like to see the difference in terms of, what the pictures come out as. If you're going to use auto on both and not actually change anything and not actually like know what you're doing, the iPhone or the Android is probably going to take better pictures. But if you actually know what you're doing, I think the DSLR still will be better. But being able to take it on the phone would greatly improve my workflow because I have a wireless SD card in the camera. So it lets me transfer stuff to the phone, but it's still one more step.
But the time to execute, like having them on your phone, blah, 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 quick couple edits, whatever, and post, bam, done, But then again, like quality over quantity as well, right? DSLR.
Yeah. That's what Gary Vee says.
Yeah.
He says he's about getting the quantity out, but the people decide what they feel is quality.
Well, so. I think it's a combination of both. Like you don't want to put out bad content. You don't want to put out something because at the end of the day, your brand is going to be tied to that regardless. So you don't want to put out terrible content, but you don't want to spend, I took this picture with my DSLR. Then I went home and edited in Lightroom for 3 hours. Then I did this. And then I did all this other fancy stuff to it. And I uploaded it 2 days after I took you're going a little overboard. I think it's the balance between being able to time to attack and get stuff out quickly and timely and to social platforms, but
Yeah.
also making sure you're not diluting your brand in terms of what you're putting out there.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
This next Sema, Tom, how are you looking? Sorry to kind of jump back and forth a little bit, but yeah, booth wise and stuff like that. What were you kind of thinking, or like
Well,
same as last year type thing, or?
well, a booth at one of the off-roading events. I guess I didn't realize that they have like a little trade show.
Yeah.
Well, but typically testing out a new show, ideally, is if we could like partner up with someone who already has a booth.
Yeah.
So maybe we could work something out like that. I think it'd just be super dope to like. We've been using this drone. I think we can get killer shots, and it's just as awesome when you have someone that's like dedicated to getting content. Who's like
video for sure, or even you, man. Like when I've sent you pictures of with the grip mats when I've used them in the past here and there, and I like what you said is like action shots. Like in use, how is it being used? Because that's what people can interpret the easiest and the fastest, right?
Right. Oh, I think having a dedicated video person would be great, because what I've started doing now when we travel is like vlogging more, because I think it's like we were talking about, it's about putting out, I think having a personality tied with your brand is really important, whether like some sort of face to your brand, whether for better or for worse. And I think people want some sort of genuine, like they feel like they're buying grip mats because they're buying it from Tom, or they're buying Atturo's because they're buying it from Colin and Joe. They want like some sort of person on the other end of that transaction. So we've been doing that just because it's more fun and casual, and film the stuff that people don't see. And people think like, yeah, they just travel around and it's fun and good. And like, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. That's why I do this, because I enjoy what I do. But there's also a lot of work in
getting it all set up, and I like, as much as events used to make me very anxious and nervous, and just you're always planning, like you're heading to one, and as you're heading to that one, you're planning the next one, and whatnot. You gotta learn to enjoy the moments, have a little bit of fun too, right? Like not take all the fun out of it and make it all work. I mean, it is a lot of work, obviously, right? But you just
do you guys stay in tents?
We actually did in Colorado a couple years ago, and it was cold. Man, it was cold. Did not plan for that accordingly.
Big spoon or little spoon?
Right?
No, separate tents. Well, no, here's the thing about tents.
Oh, I mean, you got budgets. I get it. You got one tent.
Well, here's the thing about tents. So we're building a Ford Ranger to take to shows, and Joe goes,
Ford Ranger?
Yeah, a new one, a brand new one.
Is the new one badass?
It could be. We'll see. I got some badass parts.
Is it as badass as a new Ford Mustang?
I don't know. I mean, we might be.
I hate the new Ford Mustang.
We might be looking. We might be looking into doing something with Mustangs soon too. We'll see. We'll see how we come out on the other side of this coronavirus thing.
Mustang or the new thing that they're calling Mustang?
Both.
Okay.
So we're working on that, and Joe goes, we need a rooftop tent on that thing. And I'm like, Joe, rooftop tents are cool. Who the hell is sleeping in that? Like, are you trying to save money on hotel rooms and like get free security for the booth? All right, Colin, climb up there. We'll see you in the morning. We're going to the hotel. You climb up in the tent. Keep watch. Like
Colin's like, it's an employee hazard to go up this ladder. Yeah. That'd be dope. Yeah, get a rooftop tent, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll be your big spoon, Joe. Leave Colin at home.
Keep it warm, man. Keep it warm. Ain't nobody freezing tonight.
Yeah, we stayed at tents in Colorado. That was because, I mean, I knew we were going up into the mountains. I brought like decently warm stuff, but it's July. I'm like, I don't need.
Oh shit, it's still cold.
Yeah, so no. It got down to like 36 one night. I woke up at like 3 a.m. Legit thought I was gonna die. Like I was like, I'm gonna go lay in the Jeep and turn it on. I had 2 sleeping bags on, but they were they were not good sleeping bags. It was definitely a situation of being ill prepared for your environment. Just pure
all
stupidity.
All I could think was like sunlight. What time is the sun coming out? What time is the sun coming out? Oh my gosh.
Oh, and then the next night after that, it was warmer, but I'm laying in bed at like 1 a.m. and all of a sudden I hear in the distance like, ow, ow, ow. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. It's gonna be like a wolf or something. It's gonna bust through my tent. Like,
I remember making chorizo and eggs every morning, man. or at least eggs, whatever we had.
But
just
no,
something to warm up.
usually when we go, it's hotels, and occasionally now we've been doing Airbnbs, only because it's nice, because it's rather than getting two hotel rooms, it's we could still have our own rooms, but then have a space to work together, and usually better internet than would be at a hotel most of the time, especially in some of these more remote locations.
And doesn't say the distance to the locations. Like, yeah. With Airbnb, you can get a lot closer to some of these off-road places, whereas versus a hotel that's just could be ridiculously far away. And after you trail ride, you're just like, I'm so tired. I want to go to sleep and download everything and recharge my batteries. And I'm just so tired.
Gotcha. So when you were in Colorado, you were sleeping on the trail and then continuing, but
No.
usually
We weren't sleeping on the trail. So at this event, they have like a base camp they have set up where they have food and stuff every night, and you all camp there.
Oh.
I do want to do an overnight trail ride someday. I think that'd be really sweet. Like, because Rubicon is a multi-day trail. There's a couple other ones on the West Coast that are multi-day trails. We've never done one. So they usually do, it's a full day. So you're usually out on the trail, you know, six or so hours, and then you come back into camp. But
yeah.
I mean, it's just a good way to recharge slightly, you know. But I mean, the camping out events are obviously a lot of fun too, man. I mean, it just, well, yeah, you're out with nature. Like, you wake up with nature.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, then we had like that Bantam event that we're talking about. It's in PA, hopefully. Then there's that one Scraping the Coast, which is like insanely hot. So we'll see how that one goes out, you know.
Oh yeah, June in PA.
Yeah, June in PA, and then that one Joe's talking about, that's end of June in Mississippi.
Yeah,
that's a hot one.
Biloxi.
You walk outside and you're just wet. It's that hot and humid.
So you guys are driving the Jeep
inside? No,
the Jeep's in the trailer. We have a trailer it goes in.
Well, you're driving the truck with the trailer to all these events, to like PA, to Mississippi, to Utah.
Yep.
Well, depending how it goes, but April would have been like
April. Yeah. So the irony with all this was the first year because we have a new bigger trailer. This was the first year we were going to be doing a lot of actual more kind of driving to events and being more on the road. Like April, we were literally going to be on the road for like 4 weeks or something, because we had 3 events in a row, and they were basically, it was going to be to Texas, then to Utah, then to Florida was our 3 events we had to do.
It's like Texas.
Yeah, so it was all over the place. So April was going to be like 4 months on the road, and then coronavirus happened, and now it's, you know, doing live shows from your basement, because that's how we do things now.
That's right. But it's like the only like even right now in the chats and stuff, we got a fellow Jeff or whatever. I mean, you know, people can chime in, and one thing I do miss about events is having that face to face, and back to like transparency with with just people in general, man. Being accessible. Like, they have a question right now, you have an answer right now, and that's why we do events, to put yourself out there in front of people, right?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're right here at the 2-hour mark. We'll let
holy smokes.
Yeah, that was fun. We got some good stories from Tom. Got to hear about him getting lost in the middle of nowhere in Canada and off the road, and Shark Tank.
How it all came about.
Sema Launchpad, and the good, the bad, and the ugly from Grypmat. So, Tom, where can people find you? Where can people find Grypmat? Why don't you have a moment to shout out your social media, your website, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so find Grypmat at our website, www.grypmat, spelled like this. It's also all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram. My personal is Tom26Burden on Instagram, or just Tom Burden on Facebook. My dad is also Tom Burden on Facebook. So if
that's
you
funny.
See, dude, that's my dad, not me. Or also, you can find me on TikTok if you want to see put on TikTok. Check us out, our website. Send us a DM, and if you want to reach out to me, shoot me a DM on my personal social media.
Slide into them DMs.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, sharing some stories. Definitely was a good time. I really do enjoy this, because you interact with a lot of people at trade shows and in the industry, but it's very not often you get to have a more kind of long form conversation than that this allows. Like, it's always just, oh yeah, how's it been? You get your quick 5-minute conversation, whatever, and then you're back to work in the room, working the event, whatever. So I do like getting to sit down with people we've met through the industry and actually, getting to chat a little bit more than just we normally would. But thanks for everybody for tuning in. As always, you can find us everywhere at Atturo Tires, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as, what am I getting? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I always forget about Twitter.
Everyone hates on Twitter.
I don't. Well, I'm shadow banned from Twitter right now. I don't know why. I changed.
Only Joe likes Twitter.
I changed my age on my personal Twitter, and they said I created it before I was 13, and I don't remember doing that. So I'm locked out, and I've been trying to get back in for like 2 weeks. So that's why I forget about Twitter. Find us at Atturo.com for all your tire questions, tire needs. Submit your vehicle to the gallery if you want to be featured on our website and have cool pictures like this. Yeah, Doug, what is Twitter? I don't even know what Twitter is. If you want to have cool pictures of your vehicle featured on our website, like our Jeep, submit them to our gallery on our website. Head over to AtturoGear.com for all your Atturo needs. We got some cool stickers up there. Got some cool stuff coming. We may or may not have hats coming soon, so I won't be wearing a Shelby hat. Be wearing something different, and that'll be on AtturoGear.com. So keep your eyes out there for new Atturo merchandise. I think I'm going to throw up those new lanyards on there too.
Oh yeah,
might do that. And don't forget, anybody who commented, I'll go through and pick out some people from the comments after this and give away some swag. So in the future, always tune in and leave some comments and watch, and then I go back through after the show and give away some goodies to all the viewers who are watching. So we'll figure out something for you guys. Maybe I can convince Tom to give away a Grypmat or something to somebody in the comments.
Let's do it. I'll give away 3 mediums.
Okay, we'll do 3 mediums. Nice. I'll pick out 3 people. They'll get some stuff from us, and then I'll pass on the stuff to Tom, and we'll send out 3 medium Grypmats to 3 lucky people in the
that's awesome.
in the comments. So as always, guys, this has been Tire Talk with Atturo Tires. I'm Colin, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace out. Be safe.